Pam Reynolds was songwriter, zangeres en werkende moeder. In 1991 werd ze ernstig ziek.
I began to experience extreme dizziness, loss of speech, some difficulty in moving the body. And it was at that point that my physician recommended that I have a CAT scan. And the CAT scan, of course, showed the aneurysm. And it was a big one. I can remember being placed on a gurney. I remember the squeaking of the wheels.
Neurochirurg Robert Spetzler besloot Pam in behandeling te nemen, ondanks de slechte vooruitzichten.
What we're looking at is the aneurysm that she had, which is at the very base of the brain. This is the balloon that can burst and cause this incredible catastrophe in the patient's brain. Now we're looking at what's called the brainstem, which is this function. All the function of the brain passes through the brainstem. And where this particular aneurysm was is sitting right smack dab at the very middle, at the base of the brain.
De operatie van Pam werd aangeduid als Operation Standstill. Pam's lichaamstemperatuur werd verlaagd tot 10 à 15 graden Celsius. Haar hart, ademhaling en hersenactiviteit werden stilgelegd. Het bloed uit haar hoofd werd afgevoerd. Ze zou klinisch dood zijn in dat hele uur dat de operatie zou duren.
What we want to do is we want to bring that brain to a halt. We don't just want the brain to be asleep. We want the metabolic activity of the brain to stop. Every measurable output that the body puts out really disappears completely, so that you have no measurable neuronal activity whatsoever. Prior to the operation starting, a lot of activity goes on. The patient is put to sleep. The eyes are taped shut. There are little clicking devices put in each ear in order to monitor the brain. The patient is then completely covered. The only thing that's really exposed is the area of the head where we work.
I don't remember an operating room. I don't remember seeing Dr. Spetzler at all. I was with a fellow. One of his fellows was with me at that time. After that, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Until the sound. And the sound was unpleasant, was guttural. It was reminiscent of being in a dentist's office. And I remember the top of my head tingling, and I just sort of popped out of the top of my head. And I was then looking down at the body. I knew it was my body, but I didn't care. My vantage point was sort of sitting on the doctor's shoulder. I remember the instrument in his hand. It looked like the handle to my electric toothbrush. I had assumed that they were going to open the skull with a saw. I had heard the term saw, but what I saw looked a lot more like a drill than a saw. It even had little bits that were kept in this case that looked like the case that my father stored his socket wrenches in when I was a child. And I remember distinctly hearing a female voice saying,
"We have a problem. Our arteries are too small. Try the other side."
It seemed to come from further down on the table. I do remember wondering, what are they doing? Because this is brain surgery. I felt a presence. I sort of turned around to look at it, and that's when I saw the very tiny pinpoint of light. And the light started to pull me. And there was a physical sensation to the pulling, and I know how that must sound. Nonetheless, it's true. There was a physical sensation, rather like going over a hill real fast. Tummy. went toward the light. The closer I got to the light, I began to discern different figures, different people, and I distinctly heard my grandmother call me. She has a very distinct voice. And I immediately went to her. And it felt